Many of us spend our weekends cooling off in our favorite swimming holes, but have you ever really thought about what you're swimming in? In an ABC 13 exclusive investigation, I took samples in popular swimming areas all around our region, rivers, lakes, and pools, to find out what's in the water. You might be shocked at what we found.
First stop, the James River at Monacan Park. You can't swim from the shore here, but the James is a popular place to take a dip off your boat on a hot summer day. Next stop, the dock by the Leesville Lake Dam. A family showed up to swim while we were there. We'll see how this water checks out. Then to Smith Mountain Lake State Park. Families had flocked to the park on this warm and sunny day. I went a few feet in to collect a sample. In Danville, Kelsey Metzger got a sample of the Dan River by the boat launch area. At Splash Valley in Roanoke County, oddly enough, a fecal accident outside forced everyone inside, packed with people. Annie Anderson dipped in a bottle to see what we'll find.
The time is now 4 o'clock and time for an adult swim.
I also took samples at Miller Park Pool in Lynchburg and even the baby pool there. And hit the spray ground at Riverside Park, where it was teeming with children frolicking in the fountains.
It's got more E. coli.
Dr. Tom Shahady, environmental science professor at Lynchburg College, did the testing for us, focusing specifically on fecal coliform bacteria and E. coli.
These are not disease organisms, but the presence of these suggests there are disease organisms in the water, and that concerns us.
So, what did we find?
This is the pool, indoor pool. Splash Valley indoor pool.
This is Splash Valley?
So you can see there's nothing there at all. And the chlorinated water typically has none. Yep, and so this one's absolutely zero.
The same results for both pools we tested at Miller Park. But then, a surprise.
The spray ground, the Riverside Park spray ground.
Oh, that's just here in, ooh.
I know. That was concerning. But it's only fecal, there's no E. coli.
Even though it's chlorinated, that indicates fecal matter is present.
That's a lot of bacteria. Because look, right?
Yeah.
That's what I would want my kids to be in. I wouldn't want them to be in here.
I shared the results with Lynchburg Parks and Recreation. They say they will now start testing for bacteria and examine whether they need to limit the amount of people or get a larger holding tank. This is the James River at Monacan Park?
Mm-hmm. So there's another one that I would be concerned with. That's a lot of bacteria.
The James River was on the high end, but still within the state limits for E. coli, as were the Dan River and Leesville Lake at the dam. But the worst result of all came at Smith Mountain Lake State Park. On that day, my sample tested 10 times higher than the state's limit for E. coli bacteria.
That is so high and that is so contaminated, I would not get in that water. I wouldn't want to be in that water.
Dr. Shahady says he immediately reported the results to the Smith Mountain Lake Association. But the man in charge of water quality says the information never got to him. He agreed to me, though, that result was very bad, but told me the association tests the park and other parts of the lake every 2 weeks all summer.
The results were so concerning out here at the park that Dr. Shahady suggested we test it again, so we came back out here to get another sample.
So what did our second test show?
You can see that one's and a lot of times we get even a richer yellow. That's concerning because that's a much darker, concerning sample that you gave me, yeah.
Okay, now is this as concerning as the first test?
I'm about to find out. No, not at all. It's 9 and 2, so it's nowhere nearly as bad.
We also took another sample at the spray ground. The fecal coliform had dropped significantly, but it wasn't zero like the other chlorinated pools.
Just random samples don't really mean much from a health standpoint.
Jim Bowles, the environmental health manager with the Lynchburg Health Department, wouldn't weigh in on my results. As he explains, one test doesn't necessarily tell the whole story.
You may have a sample that's great one day, but by the time you get those results, the area is polluted, and vice versa.
But he does say you assume certain health risks no matter where you swim.
One of the things that we would advise people is to swim only at designated swimming areas because most of the time they're chosen because there's no obvious source of pollution nearby that could cause problems.
However, people themselves could be the source. So what do our tests tell you?
You know, if people ask, am I going to get sick if I swim in that?
Who knows?
Who knows? But there's a greater risk when we've got high bacteria counts like we're seeing.
I also called the Department of Conservation and Recreation, which is responsible for water quality at the state park. They told me experts test the park once a month with specific guidelines. They say my one test isn't evidence enough, but they would close the beach if they ever felt it was necessary. As far as the spray ground, as a result of my findings, I asked them again today. Lynchburg Parks and Recreation now tells me they are installing a larger chlorinator this week to better handle the high bather load there. Now, as far as your health, well, the most common illness around here would be gastrointestinal, causing diarrhea, or infections due to open wounds. So some words of wisdom from the health department: don't swim in natural waters for a few days after a heavy rainfall, as the runoff and sediment carry pollutants. Don't go in with open cuts or wounds. You could get an infection. Always shower after you swim. And of course, don't swallow the water. And for you parents,
if you got a kid that's in diapers, you know, they need to have waterproof plastic pants on when they go into a swimming pool or a wading pool or anything else. And that's not to protect that child, it's to protect the other children.
all of us. Don't swim if you are having intestinal issues. You could just end up ruining it for everyone. Some of you have asked us for an update after my water testing report found fecal coliform bacteria at the spray ground at Lynchburg's Riverside Park. My report last month led Lynchburg Parks and Rec to install a larger chlorinator there, something they had been considering. I got to look at the new system today. It is larger than the old one, and the chlorine test today showed the chlorine level was well above the minimum requirement.
So the system's designed originally for 50 to 80 bathers, but this is a very popular place to come and hang out during the summer, especially when it becomes really hot. And so the old one was designed with those old specs in mind. And so now that we have a lot more people here, we want to make sure that, that we're keeping up with that kind of bather load.
I also took another water sample there yesterday and got the results today. It showed 0 bacteria, a clean bill of health. Now, despite the new chlorinator, Trevor Freitas there still urges parents to make sure if your children are in diapers that they are wearing plastic pants. And if any of you have been sick, he says don't go in the water for 48 hours after you're better for the safety of everyone else.